Hello, beauties. Welcome to Mom's Unboxed, a podcast where I unbox with you the how-tos, tips, and tricks to empower women to upgrade relationships, intimacy, and parenting. I'm your host, Melanie Caroline, a multi-dimensional woman, life coach, lover, and mom who's made a lot of fucking mistakes. If you want to live a sensual and liberated life, you've come to the right space. Don't forget to follow Mom's Unboxed because you don't want to miss an episode. Hello, mamas. Welcome to another week of Mom's Unboxed. I am so glad you're here with me. Whew. This past week has been a doozy, and I don't know if you tuned into last week's episode, but if you haven't, you need to, because my emotions have been just all over the place, and this is a perfect topic because I have been doing a meditation saga to talk about how meditation and mindfulness really impacts the way you process your emotions, your feelings, how it can really help you drop into your body so that you can become more aware of yourself. And this week we are unboxing emotions and feelings. We all know what emotions and feelings are, but we don't know how to process them. I know that there are days where you are stressed out, you are running around, doing errands, all the things, and you might snap at your child, and you might not even be aware of the fact that you are being so impatient until you are yelling and your children is crying or your child is crying. It could be you're taking them grocery shopping and they won't stop touching all the product. And you've asked them repeatedly, please stop touching the food. Please stop touching the food. Please stop touching the food. And then finally you're just like, I'm done. You're raising your voice in the middle of the store. Now people are looking at you. And you're like, you know what? I just did my best. I asked them multiple times. And it still didn't work. What do we do when we are feeling overwhelmed and anxious and stressed? Oftentimes we just keep going. Us moms know how to keep going. We're tenacious. We're driven. We have shit to do and we don't have a lot of options to put them off. The remedy really is taking time for yourself. And you might ask, well, I don't have the time. Well, let me just throw back a question. How many times do you look at your phone a day? And can you put away your phone for a little while and do something that might be more helpful to you, that might give you more space and relaxation? If you accumulated the amount of times that you looked at your phone, you were on your phone, I bet there's about 15-20 minutes a day in there where you could set your phone aside and utilize that time to just breathe, to relax, to drop into your body, to become aware of your emotions and the sensations that you're having. That's why I created the PDF, The Mindful Mom, and it's to help moms reduce stress and move into ease and flow. Get that in the description or on my Instagram. You'll see my LinkedIn and there'll be a tab for the freebie. I really hope you get it. Being mindful of emotions and feelings takes effort. It takes practice. And it's you being willing to stand there within yourself with curiosity and no judgment. So you're going to be curious about what your body is feeling. What are the sensations? Are you feeling like your throat is closed? Is your chest tight? Is your jaw clenched? Are your shoulders tense? Are your joints sore? Does your stomach hurt? It's asking yourself all these questions and being aware of the feelings. And then when you become aware of the feelings, you then have to understand what the feelings means, which is a whole nother practice of self-observation. So when you are in that grocery store and you're feeling your jaw tense, you might begin to understand, when my jaw is tense, that means my stress is increasing. I'm about to yell. All our body sensations might feel the same, right? The feelings that we feel are similar, but they mean different things for each person. Me biting my cheeks means that I haven't ate all day. Someone else biting their cheeks might mean they're going into an anxiety attack. So it really is different for each person, and that's why it's important to take the self-care time to reflect on what the sensations and feelings in your body means. There are feelings within the body that is tied to emotions. Have you guys ever watched Midnight Gospel? Let me know. It's a fucking great show. It's so colorful and it's like cartoony, and I mean, honestly too, if you're into psilocybin, Midnight Gospel is like something to watch for sure. I haven't done it myself while watching that show, but I was picturing it last night when I was watching it, and I was like, oh my god, this would be quite a trip. In one of the episodes of Midnight Gospel, Clancy turns into an octopus, and the octopus Clancy is just so full of rage. So he goes to this island and meets this meditation master. And as soon as he meets the meditation master, he's like, fuck you, I don't need to do this, blah, 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 I don't want none of your meditation bullshit, nothing. And the meditation master just listens to his ranting and raving. And when Clancy's finished, the meditation master says, are you done? And Clancy's like, yes, fine, I'm done. And the meditation master invites him to just sit and just be there in the moment. And Clancy discovers that he's very mindful of all his thoughts. He's thinking about his friend. He's thinking about how his nose itches. Like, all these things are just arising for him. And then he notices, like, holy shit, I'm like actually aware of my thinking. I'm aware of my feelings. I'm aware that I'm fucking angry. And so he has all these like epiphanies of awareness. And Clancy asks the meditation master, hey, can you help me untangle things? And the master says, yes, sure. And something happens. Clancy is attacked by a monkey. And the monkey's like trying to get Clancy to just like shut the fuck up and listen. Just be there. And so Clancy's laying on his back with the monkey on top of him. And then suddenly he notices all this life happening around him. There's a turtle eating. There's another animal drinking from a lake. There's just all these different things happening around him that he doesn't notice. And so when your mind is going and going, or you're feeling very emotional, how far does your vision cast? How much do you see around you? You probably don't see a lot, because when we are feeling emotional, our capacity to see from other people's viewpoints or our ability to notice decreases. This is why when you're pissed off, you probably don't even see that your partner is having a really rough day and he came home and goes straight outside to sit down. And it's like, he didn't give you a hug, he didn't give you a kiss. But when you're in your own feelings, you might not even be aware of the shift in routine from your partner. And so Clancy is just looking at everything around him. And instead of getting caught up in his own stories or what he's doing wrong, being aware, he notices the space between his thoughts and what's happening around him. And that's the amazing thing about meditation, is that it gives you psychological space. It uncrowds your mind, and it's accepting the feelings and emotions as they arise, knowing that they're impermanent. That saying goes, you're mad for 5 minutes, but you spent all day being angry because you perseverated and ruminated over your emotions, and you fueled the emotions by, talking about your issue or emotion with your friend, which then fuels that fire even more. Meditation allows you to just notice without clinging to it. And I tell you what, mamas, I've had the worst fucking week. And even after last week's episode, it just got worse. I hadn't been meditating as much as I should have been the last week. So I was very much in my emotions. I was feeling very anxious. My throat has been tight. I feel like my body feels tense. And I know that that's not helping my emotions. And also when I'm in pain, it fuels the emotions. But we've had a lot of shifts and changes within the house with someone else moving in and figuring that all out, where I'm just craving my own space. And the anger and upset with my realization of that this house has not been consistent since I've moved in as far as who's living here and who's not. And that inconsistency has fueled my anger. And I don't think that I admitted that to myself until just last week. Like, all the changes, all the people have been unhealthy in some way, which has been very triggering to me. And living here has been trigger after trigger after trigger. And I think this past week, just everything compiled and I just couldn't take it anymore. So, like I said, my emotions were anger. And I was feeling very tense in my body and I was going to erupt. And I did erupt. There was a point I did erupt because I wasn't meditating. I wasn't working through the emotions. I was literally in reaction mode. So when Donnie and I got in a fight, I ended up throwing my favorite cup to the fucking sidewalk because I was just so fucking over it. Now, anger is not a bad emotion. And I really try not to label our emotions bad or good. What we can say about emotions like anger, frustration, jealousy, envy is that these are unfulfilled emotions. And I often say that anger is the driver to other emotions because anger is easily tapped into, and we don't have to be as vulnerable as we would need to be if we were going to express our sadness or grief. And so in that moment when Donnie and I are getting into this fight, I am feeling an eruption of anger. An unfulfilled need is not being met. And when we think about an unfulfilled emotion, we go back to our values. What values do we have that are not being met? In this case, with the multiple changes in the house, my value of consistency is not being met. My value of organization is not being met. My value for a peaceful environment is not being met. So there's all these different things throughout this time that I've been here the past year that haven't been met. And in result, I'm feeling angry over the unfulfilled needs. Now, when you do feel an unfulfilled emotion, you want to recognize the emotion. What is important about the emotion? What message is it trying to provide you? Is there something within yourself that needs to be addressed? During that time when I threw the cup, I was experiencing the anger, and the anger is okay to experience. We want to welcome anger or any unfulfilled emotion to arise so that we can better identify how to tame it, how to calm it down. And I even say this is like being friends with fear, being friends with anger, so that we can understand it better. When we try to resist the unfulfilled emotions, that's when the eruption starts happening. When we don't acknowledge these things that are stirring within us, they grow bigger and bigger. It's like ignoring a boiling pot, right? Just because we ignore it doesn't mean it's not going to boil. And so addressing it and welcoming it and trying to understand the unfulfilled need is important and is a part of living a mindful life. So when I threw the cup, that's when the reaction came in. It's the behavior that became the issue and a problem for me because I broke my favorite cup. It's not the anger itself. When we're mindful of our emotions and our behaviors, we can choose, well, do I throw this cup or not? And if I want to fucking throw the cup, I'll throw the cup. But it's a conscious decision. And what happened on Friday was not a conscious decision. It was a very reactionary decision. I got angry and threw the cup. It wasn't like, no, I want to choose to be a different kind of person in this moment. So I need to scale down the anger so that I'm not reactionary. That is not what occurred during that argument. It was Mel got angry, Mel got reactionary, threw the cup, broke the cup, got sad over the broken cup, and then had to go buy myself the same exact cup that I threw and broke because of my reactions. And it's through meditation that we are allotted the space to consciously choose, where we are in our wiser mind, where we can choose, like, how do I want to process these unfulfilled emotions? And many times we aren't choosing how to process them. We're actually just reactionary to them. And our bias brain pays attention to the lack. It pays attention to the negativity of the unfulfilled emotion rather than seeing that as an opportunity to connect deeper within ourselves and ask ourselves, well, how can I come to a solution? How can Donnie and I talk about this so that I'm not feeling angry? Or how can we process together so that we are both feeling fulfilled and heard? Donnie's so sweet. He was so patient. He just walked over to his vehicle, pulled up next to my vehicle, because at this time we're both in our vehicles because we're like, this isn't working. Like, we're just being mean to each other at this point. And so we were going to part ways, but we weren't going to see each other all weekend. I really didn't want to leave like that. And so he pulled up next to my car and he's like, what can I do for you? And I'm just crying, bawling my eyes out. I don't know. He's like, do you want a hug? I was like, yeah. So he like reparks his car and comes over and gives me a hug and tells me that this is going to work if we wanted to, that our situation right now is temporary, and just being super patient and compassionate and loving. And through the time we've been together, he's constantly been able to hold my ocean, because I do have a lot of emotions, and every opportunity I do have these emotional waves, I try to look at it from the observer. So being able to feel the rise of emotions and also make note of when they dissipate, because anger, sadness, frustration, jealousy, those things are not permanent. And oftentimes we can sense when they're happening, but we don't make a note of when we're like, hey, I'm feeling okay today. I'm not feeling angry. I'm not feeling jealous. And we have to point those out to ourselves so that we can acknowledge how well we're doing with managing the emotions. I do truly believe that if I had been meditating regularly this past week, my emotions would not have gotten the best of me. I would have been okay. And I would have been able to talk to Donnie about how I'm feeling rather than reacting to my feelings. Meditation allows you to really feel those things and express those emotions in a more thoughtful way, because we're not being swayed by the wave of emotions. Feelings and emotions are tricky, y'all. Very, very tricky. Where do you notice your feelings being altered? Where do you feel like your emotions are altered? So like feelings being altered could be like, I eat a ton of chocolate and it makes my stomach hurt. Like I feel the ache in my belly. Emotions are like, I'm being swayed by my constant change of living circumstances and it's making me angry. There's a difference between personal power and circumstantial power. And this is something that I am continuously working on. I lose my personal power when my circumstances change. So a lot of my power lies in my circumstances. What is happening in my environment? What is happening in my home? Is there something in life that's overwhelming me? And when those things start to pile up, I lose my personal power, which means I'm not processing my emotions in a healthy way. I lose my routine. I stop going to the gym. I'm not drinking as much water. There's a lot of things that shift and flux as my circumstances change. And this is why it's so important to work on the stress that we're feeling so that we can embody more personal power so that we can raise our kids in a healthy way. We can also teach our children to have more personal power because, as you know, life fucking changes all the time. And people are so influenced by these changes that we do lose our ability to respond to our emotions and we just become reactionary. As you become more aware, you begin to notice where your feelings are yours and where they're not yours. So, as I said, emotions and feelings are very temporary, even though we might sometimes feel like it's permanent. We do have the power and choice to shift our circumstances should something not be making us happy. Happiness does come from within, but I'm not so naive to think that we are not affected by people and events and circumstances. And that's why I do say that personal power and focusing on growing that is very important as life does constantly shift. Have you ever had like a BF who went through a breakup and then the day before or a week before you had something super exciting happen to you, but you feel bad for being happy because they're going through a breakup? And so we just hide our happiness and we kind of wallow with them. I know this has happened to several people. I mean, and it's not the only example. Like your sister, for instance, could be having difficulty with her test and she's fucking frustrated and she's calling you up to be frustrated and you are just in the best of moods and you don't want to dismiss her frustration with her testing, but you also don't want to be like hearing her cursing and yelling and just kind of not responding in a good way. We oftentimes feel guilty for the way we feel. We feel guilty for having excitement and happiness and joy when someone else is going through a really difficult time. Now, can you imagine a world if we actually were able to express ourselves and communicate to the person who was maybe not having a good day and saying, hey, I don't want to like ruin your mood or get you out of what you're going through and experiencing. I'm not available today to be able to be a soundboard for you because I have my own things going on. But is it possible we can chat about this another day? Because I really do want to hear you and I really do want to be there for you. And same goes for the opposite. If you're having a bad day and your girlfriend's having the best of days, like you should be able to say, hey, I can hear you're really happy right now. I'm kind of just wanting to be in my funk. So can we talk another day and can we celebrate together when I'm not in such a funk? And can you imagine if we can just be so authentic with each other and be able to speak those things and speak our emotions rather than trying to feel bad for them or feel shame for them? This is such an important lesson to learn, especially with your partner. If you're living with your partner, you know that your partner has rough days, good days, happy days, joyful days, shitty days. Like we have so many different type of days where, I've been having a fucking shit week, but I don't expect my partner to have a shit week because I'm having a shit week. And I know of couples who legit get mad at their partners because they're not sad with them. Like they're not going to be mad with them. You start talking shit about your neighbor because they left the garbage can in the middle of your driveway and your partner doesn't want to like engage in the shit talking. So we get mad at our partners. Like this happens constantly. We have to own our own emotions. without making our partners feel like they have to participate in those emotions with us, because we are just two different people, and we have to understand that we're all going to flux. We're all going through our own thing and having our own life, and we experience our own emotions, and we can't expect others to just be invited into the crazy ride with us. Understand that your emotions are yours. Just because you respond to a situation one way doesn't mean that another person is going to respond to that same situation in the same way that you would, because we are all different people. So I'll give you an example on Grace and Frankie. Love this show. Episode 1, Grace and Frankie find out that their husbands are gay together and they want a divorce so that the two husbands can get married to one another. And Grace and Frankie are out on the beach, and Grace is just fucking pissed. She's angry, of course, rightfully so. And she doesn't understand why Frankie is so fucking calm about the entire thing. She doesn't understand why Frankie's not yelling, shouting, being pissy. Like, she just does not get it. She's like, I don't understand. She goes to Frankie, she's like, why aren't you angry? And Frankie turns to her and she says, because I'm heartbroken. And that fucking line just hits home. Like, heartbroken is different than anger. It's this subtle emotion that makes such an impact. Like, all you can do is just cry. Like, there's no room for anger. There's just sadness and this feeling of death. And so that's an example of, like, same situation, right? They're going through the same situation, but they're responding to it differently. And we have to remember that as we move through our emotions and we go through situations that we might share with other people, is how can you hold your power and how can they hold their power while also being there for one another without this expectation that one is supposed to respond the same way as the other. Grace and Frankie, through that experience they had on the beach, were actually able to come together and feel a connection with each other without this expectation that a person is supposed to have this same experience. Donnie and I had this conversation a lot when we first got together, because I was going through a divorce from my husband. I'm still going through the divorce, but it was more impactful when we first broke up. And I'd be having these really tough days, and Donnie would come with all his cheers and all his jokes, and I just I wouldn't budge. I'd laugh or chuckle, but I wasn't really into laughing or feeling happy. I was heartbroken and depressed and sad. And I remember there was one day where I was like kind of mad that he was just like so cheery and I'm going through all this heartbreak. And we had these conversations of like, just because I'm upset doesn't mean that he has to be upset. And he has the right to feel his emotions and express himself in a way that is authentic to him without me feeling like I have to control the way he feels and the way he expresses his emotions. And it was a thing to learn. It definitely was. So take a minute and just think about, where do you try to control other people's emotions and expression? Like, where do you try and mold them, or where do you get mad at your partner because they're not mad with you? Like, is there any of that happening? And when you do these like insightful contemplations, do it from a place of curiosity. You're not here to judge yourself. No one's here to tell you it's wrong or bad. It's about just being really inquisitive and being very mindful of how you behave and how you project your emotions and feelings. So this week's assignment is to really sit down and meditate and really focus on the sensations in your body. What are you feeling? What are you feeling towards a certain event in your life or a certain person? How are your emotions impacted by this person or this event? And where are you impacted the most when you're stressed at your children? What is it really? Is it really that they keep touching the groceries? Or is it that you fear something's going to get knocked down and broken? Oftentimes when we are asking something of our children, it's because it's a safety thing sometimes, right? But instead of actually requesting the true thing or explaining like, hey babes, please keep your hands to yourself in the store because I don't want something to get broken. Oftentimes children do a lot better when they have an explanation as to why you're asking them to not do something. My dad used to just say, do as I say, not as I do. And it's like, well, it'd be nice if I had an explanation as to why the fuck you do the shit that you don't want me to do. Like, I get it as an adult. We can give that explanation, but why not just express to our kids, hey, mommy's feeling angry. I can feel pressure in my chest and this anger is arising in me. And I think it's because mom's really tired and hungry. And I just need some quiet right now. That's such a better explanation than, I need everyone to be quiet or they're going to go to their rooms. Like, okay, but why? What's going on? Like, kids are meant to be loud and crazy. They have so much energy. And when you explain things in a way that helps them really understand, you'd be surprised about the way your kids respond to you. And then they pick that up. They pick out those deeper explanations and they're like, ooh, what am I feeling in my body? What do I feel in my body when I'm angry or hungry? And these are questions that I do ask my children because I want my children to be able to express themselves further than the word good, which is a constant in my household. It doesn't matter how many different ways I try to ask, it's good, And so I want my children to understand vocabulary, emotions, sensations, and feelings beyond that. And this is a constant work in progress in my household. And it's a continuous practice with meditation and mindfulness to really drop into your body and understand yourself on a deeper level. And when you do feel the emotions arising, like anger, I'll just keep using anger as the example, is really like noticing when it comes and when it goes. It's noticing when the anger is triggered. And during your meditation is really the time to identify, like, what is anger and why are you there? This is something that you can ask your emotions. And I like to do a practice called Letters to Emotions, where I literally get in tune and in touch with my emotions. And I ask it questions and I write it down and I write a letter to the emotion so that I can understand that part of me on a deeper level. Because emotions are a part of you. And too many times we don't want to address the emotions. We just want to ignore them, which makes the emotion even larger. So this week, get in tune with your emotions. Ask some questions. Why is it there? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Is there a way to solve the emotion or release the emotion? And this could be for joy too and gratitude, like enhancing our happiness, joy, gratitude, and compassion and self-love is really nourishing those parts of us. And nourishing those parts of us also means acknowledging those parts and learning how you can amplify those things. And I know part of my upset this past week is because I've been in a very scarce mindset. I've been triggered by the changes. And because I've been in that scarcity mindset, I haven't really been in a space of gratitude and being thankful for where I'm at, being thankful for my life and my situation. I've been looking at things from a place of lack. And when I start looking at things from a place of lack is when that anger starts really arising in me, because I start thinking, well, I need my own space to fix this. And so I start going into problem solve mode, which then overwhelms me, when really I need to understand that those feelings are temporary and that I'm really grateful for where I'm at, and knowing that, all things in life shift and change and I will get through that the more I'm in tune with myself, the more I'm meditating, the more I'm practicing my self-care, and the more I'm expressing to my children what's going on and keeping them in the loop of how mommy's feeling. When I'm keeping my children in the loop, things are so much less stressful, and I do move with more ease and flow because we're all communicating. I'm in touch with myself. I feel the emotions arising. I notice the feelings in my body. I know what they mean, and I can address it before I have an emotional wave. There are some hormonal shifts and biological things going on with women that do affect the emotions and feelings in our body. And that's why it's even more important during your menstrual cycle to really amp up your self-care and meditation, really notice things and seeing how you can shift so that you're not so reactionary during that time. It's all a part of learning yourself and what it means to have personal power versus circumstantial power. It means tuning in with your body and understanding your emotions and feelings. So do the homework practice, sit with yourself, understand your emotions, the feelings, and dig deeper if you'd like to dig deeper. What do the emotions and feelings necessarily mean? How are they triggered? What can you do to prevent them from being triggered? I love you, mamas. I hope you enjoyed this session today. Don't forget to click on the ebook freebie about meditation and mindfulness and living a life of less stress, more flow and ease. Until the next time, sunshine. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of Moms Unboxed. If you have a topic or relationship question, connect with me at I am Melanie Caroline. And don't forget to follow Moms Unboxed. May you live a liberated, sensual, and unboxed life. I'll be chatting with you next Wednesday for another episode. Until the next time, sunshine.